So the messages that are coming through are deeply connected to the shared heart space between divine feminine and divine masculine. And I'm being guided to create a session to support releasing restrictions around these energies. I'm going to go into messages here. And while this is uploading, I'm going to go immediately record a supportive session, a guided meditative energy session to release these restrictions for any of you who feel guided. So I just wanted to share that with you really quick. So, as we've been talking about, many of the feminines have been feeling very deeply called into a surrendered stillness. And this, for many of you that are feeling this, is coming from your higher self, from source. And it's ultimately supporting you leveling up to your next levels. You may also find that the things that used to work for you are no longer working. And this is part of where you are being called to get to know yourself deeper and to go into places and spaces and talents and gifts and abilities and activate those and learn deeper about yourself. And this is also deeply connected to dropping more clearly into the sacred feminine embodied essences. And the reason this is a process, of course, it's your natural nature, but we have been residing on a highly wounded masculine energetic planet, right? Like that's the overarching template of the society we were functioning within, but also exactly what we're unraveling out of the wounded masculine patriarch. But within that, of course, was the wounded feminine response. And so, as we're working on those internal union energies and embodying more deeply into the internal union, a big part of that is reaching this point in the heart space where your own internal masculine and feminine may be mirroring what is happening with the external masculine collective and the external feminine collective. So roll with me because as the feminines are dropping into this surrender and really learning to trust, even when it doesn't make logical sense, you may find that you are being pushed in a way that you have before, but you might find that you're really noticing that even in potentially stressful, logically stressful circumstances, you are maintaining your center. Yes, you're acknowledging that there's things going on that are stressful or uncomfortable, but you might find how much your nervous system is able to navigate and work with these energies in much more stabilized ways. So, this is also intersecting with where the divine masculine collective is. And although, of course, there's also variations of the masculines, this intense surrendered stillness of the feminine collective is mirroring where the divine masculine collective is being pushed into their next levels of action. And there's, of course, a variation of masculines and different levels that they are holding. For me, there has been a very specific portion of the divine masculine energy that has been stepping forward in a multitude of ways. And it is the very strong, some might call stubborn, digging their heels in masculines that are very much sort of living and embodied in some very deep protective mechanisms. This is not in judgment. That was exactly what they needed to do, where they were meant to be. But what is happening and why this is happening collectively, again, some of the feminines that I'm speaking to may be feeling this surrender, and their masculine may not even fully be in this part of the collective I'm speaking about, but you may still be feeling what I'm speaking about because, again, this is like, this to me is happening, yes, individually and within the sacred union partnership counterpart energies, twin flames. But this is also happening within the overarching divine feminine and divine masculine collective energies. So it's the microcosm to the macrocosm. And so you may be assisting with the overarching collective. Chances are high that if you're here watching this still, that's part of what you're helping to support. But again, this is also helping you move to your next levels of manifestation. It's very much always in the energy of tandem reciprocity. Our higher selves understand this. So part of it is the masculines that were kind of dug in. What I'm sensing is a lot of them were very frozen, may have even been in denial of the connections, really potentially projecting onto the feminine. In a lot of cases, the deeper it was coming in is even them sort of having fears around the connections just because of everything, the overwhelm, the emotion, all the things that it brought up or has brought up in the past that seemed to settle, but now is sort of, it's like rising up again. And so that pushback that's happening is where it's just pushback onto themselves. So it feels really important for the feminines to let go of those old beliefs that the masculine is trying to push his emotions onto you. It's your job as an evolving, embodied, sacred, divine feminine to hold yourself, to hold your peace, and to just be present to whatever is occurring. This is really important for you because it's not your job to fix it. It's not your job to process it. It's not your job to figure it out. It's your job to not run, not wall, not freeze, and to show your strengthened capacity to just be present with whatever it is without trying to fix it and without pushing the energy away. Okay. And this part is a really big mirror to the feminines where you thought the masculine was running and walling and freezing, but there may have been that same exact behavior that you were participating in by every time you felt the masculine get emotional or process things, you wanted to shut down or give it back. Yes, give him his to process, but share sacred safe space and just be present with it. Process your part, honor his process, and just let it be what it is. Okay. If this is resonating, if you have the capacity to do that, if you are still triggered or struggling with this, then you go work deeper on your trauma responses and your defense mechanisms and focus back to yourself. And again, let the divine masculine process his part. But for those of you who are holding and stable and secure with your energies and you're able to sort of sort through the differences, then just process yours, be present with whatever is there. You may also find that there are shared pockets opening up. And this is going back to the releasing restriction that I was speaking about, connected to where this very deep mirroring point is happening once again, where the divine feminine and divine masculine have both hit sort of a stubborn point of like, I've done what I can do and I'm not doing anymore and I'm not going to participate in that, or I'm sick of doing this. I don't want to deal with this. You may feel that it's the other, but then stop and look at the words that you've been saying. Okay. And it is okay if you've been feeling like, I don't want to do this in this way anymore. That's actually because we are ready to grow to the next levels. We've been embodying into our standards, and now it is time to release the previous restrictions. This releases internal restrictions so that you can embody deeper into your own inner union and your own sacred feminine or sacred masculine essences, as well as being able to embody what is being asked from your highest power, your highest self, right? This next phase, this next level of embodiment into the new template, right? We're on an unmarked trail, we're in unmarked territory. So we are learning as we go. And that capacity to be still and surrendered and listen to the guidance and follow it is the very thing that's going to help you to get to where you're wanting to be and where you're wanting to go, and embodying and manifesting what it is that you have been asking for. Okay. It's also coming forward for a lot of the divine feminines who have been working so, so deeply for quite a long time, maybe even years. The universe, your higher self knows what you're wanting to manifest. You don't necessarily have to keep refocusing and reiterating on it. Your intentions, your prayers have been heard, and now your next role, your next job, your next phase is about opening up and letting yourself up level into your next capabilities and talents embodied. Okay. And part of this is releasing some of the specific things that came in last night were looking at it like you're releasing any of your standards are still in place. But we're going to dive into in that session, I'm going to record releasing any of the previous restrictions that are actually limiting your growth and or limiting the growth of the connection. Another part that I was shown, you guys can do this and if it resonates in whatever way you feel, but I'm also going to intend this in that session, is that within the shared heart space where there's the overwhelm or previously there was overwhelm, and maybe why many of you went into separation. And even if you're back in connection, you might find this resonates for you to go deeper into your sacred partnership embodiment to again release the past restrictions that were required to support both of your systems to process what was already occurring. But now that you're stronger and more stable in the shared space where it feels uncertain, you can ask to bring in an organizing power. Ask to release the old information, confusion, and chaos that is no longer necessary. Ask for the information to be organized. Ask for it to be almost categorized so that it is now digestible and something that is comprehensible to your systems, to the energies, right? You focus on your energy, divine feminine, divine masculine, you focus on your part, and then the shared space can sort of reorganize. Also, allowing whatever has been worked on to be released. And why this happens, I feel like this is something important for me to say right now. You might say, Danielle, I've worked on these topics. Why are they coming up deeper? Well, this is the beauty. These connections are so incredibly deep. They go to the core of our being, into our subconscious, into parts of ourselves that we didn't even know existed until it was brought up in our system. So when the separations occur, it's so that you can go sort through that and process it and get to know and embody into those parts of yourself, right? That's the gift. And so as you're embodying those levels, as you're learning those lessons, as you're becoming the version of you that you know you are meant to be, then what happens is now you can reopen the next layer that you shut down. This is why, if you've been here with me for any amount of time, you hear me talk about pockets of energy, containers, because this, for me, I don't know about you, but it was super overwhelming. And it took me a while to sort of figure this out, but I found that if I focused on a pocket of energy for a time in the present moment, I could sort through it and digest it and learn from it and comprehend it and understand it. Now I have that wisdom. I can put that container or book or, pocket on the shelf. It's there. I know how to work with that. And now I can take the next one. in digestible chunks. So essentially, it's 10-10. Where it was overwhelming, now you can bring that organizing power to the connection, to the space. You're basically taking what you have been learning for yourself and applying it to the space that was once chaotic. Okay, now you might know how to be connected to someone without needing to be attached. Or the shared space is where the energy was chaotic, right? Where the shared space was closed could be where you had the same type of topics, right? You and your counterpart had the same wounding, the same protective mechanisms, and it was overloading because you were both bringing all of that information up to the surface for one another. And most likely, you probably both kind of freaked out a little bit because neither of you had the skill set to deal with or handle that, right? And I'm speaking about the twin flames and divine counterparts, but as I'm speaking, you can apply this to probably many relationships in your life. It's just that the twin flame divine counterparts go so deep, it sort of forces us into dissolving these protective mechanisms because we're being called to embody ourselves and embody the love and the truth that's actually our natural nature. And it's designed to inspire us to these levels. Okay. It's deep. And if you, again, if you're still here with me, I know you know this, right? It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for, this process is for those that have agreed to really embody in a new way, right? And so we are hitting these points in our evolution where we are on the unmarked trail. We are the ones pioneering and working through these energies and it's happening on a collective scale again. So we're going to focus on clearing out the old restrictive restraints that are no longer serving, right? Bringing in the organizing power and allowing the space for digestible information to be processed and embodied, deepening into your own inner union and holding sacred space for the sacred union energies to align into their natural nature in new and deeper ways. Again, this is something you can choose to do. You can partake in whatever way feels aligned for you. I really enjoy bringing forth those sessions to support the process. For those of you who feel guided, you will know in these sessions, your higher self, your soul is in control, and you'll know if it feels aligned for you. And I always trust that. Okay, my loves. So that will be down in the pinned comment. I will share the information that comes through more specifically and more deeply once it's actually embodied and landed into the physical recorded form. It will also be over on my post tab on my website, and it will be over on my Patreon store. So there's multiple ways you can connect in with that. In the meantime, or if you want to decide, I do have a free playlist of meditations here on the channel. You can check in, feel into my style if you have not partake or partook in that yet. And again, I'm sending you so much love. I hope that this message was helpful. I hope you're doing well. I would love to hear from you if you feel guided to share. And let me know, is this making sense? Are you feeling these energies? And again, you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you soon. Much love. Take care. Peace.